So after 2 hours of this and all of the adrenaline pumping, I was, like totally exhausted. And she said, "You're coming with me tonight." And that was the last thing she said. And then we fell asleep, woke up in exactly the same position with what felt like 5 minutes later, but was 8 hours later. And it was a very strange experience.
I'd like to welcome to the show Lisa Harrison. Thanks for being here, Lisa.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Just to sort of give us an introduction, could you give us a little bit of background of what your life was like growing up, and when did your interest in the esoteric or the unusual first begin?
I guess you could say, like most children, quite intuitive as a kid. Had very early memories of feeling like I got off the wrong bus stop. Like, this is not where I was supposed to be, and this wasn't the way the things were supposed to be. Didn't understand the way people related. It just was all wrong. It was all wrong. And used to see things that you weren't supposed to see, I guess. Could tell truth in people's words, or actually somebody would say something and I would hear something completely different and I would speak what I heard, which was actually what was underlying what they were really saying. So that got me into trouble, and I learned to shut up and shut down and do all that. But I, probably in my teen years, started to investigate what we now call conspiracy theories, because the world didn't make sense. You know, the problems of the world seemed so easy to fix, and yet they weren't being addressed. And it's like, well, that has to be on purpose. There's no other excuse or reason. So looking for answers as to why these things were on purpose. Why were people starving? Why were people living in poverty? Why were, like, this stuff's so easy to fix? What's going on? So I spent a lot of time, going down rabbit holes, I guess. But always had an intuitive psychic switch that was on. When you grow up being known as the weird one amongst your friend group, you're the one they come to when they really need help, because they're looking for a different angle or some insight. But I remember coming across the Mayan calendar in the late 90s, and that was my introduction to the whole 2012 thing. But it was so far away at that point; it just felt forever away. But in 2009, as we were getting closer to it, and I was having my own deep spiritual existential crisis of feeling like I had a job to do that I just was not doing, I wanted to ask people questions about 2012. So I started doing what you're doing, talking to those who were talking about 2012. And so I've had a public presence since 2009, which was a combination of asking people, like I said, talking to people about 2012, but that very quickly broadened into all manner of conspiracy theories, but also gave me an opportunity to share my own insights into what was going on. And in 2016, through a rather extraordinary series of events, I was contacted by beings that are outside of this reality. So when people are referred to as a contactee, they're usually that's usually in reference to what we call the galactics, the ETs, But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, because I refer to this and have referred to this reality as a construct since 2016. And I've known that we are in the process of deconstructing this construct. And these beings are from outside of this construct. So with their assistance, both in communication through technology, which freaks some people out, as well as energetically and intuitively, I've been able to gather and gain a lot of insight into where we are, who we are, why we are, when we are, and how to navigate the process that we're in, and this process being the deconstruction of this place, and how it got to where it got to, why it is the way it is. So there you go.
Interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about, well, there's actually two questions. So some people might not be familiar with 2012 and the significance of that year. So I want to ask you about that as well. But then could you tell us a little bit more about how the initial contact came from the beings outside of the realm, how that showed up for you?
Okay. 2012, the Mayans had a very specific calendar and a way of measuring time. And according to one of their calendars, the long count calendar, 2012, December 21st, 2012 specifically, was the end of time. It was the end of an epoch. A lot of people interpreted that as the end of the world, hence the movie. But my understanding was that it was actually the end of time. It was the end of a cycle. Now, I can go into this now if you want. This being a construct, it's a created space, right? And beings like us come into these created spaces for experience and growth of the soul, because there is nothing else to do except evolve and grow and expand as a soul. So we create these spaces, we create these little game rooms, and they are set with certain parameters and rules and challenges. And they each have a clock. They do each have like levels in a game. When you reach level 12, you finish the game, you leave, right? This one was supposed to end quite some time ago. It has been artificially kept going for nefarious reasons originally, but now it's been artificially kept going as part of the evacuation process, you could say, which I can get into way more detail with that in a minute if you like.
As much as you like.
Okay. As for the contact, it seems my experience, whenever there's been a huge spiritual awakening moment, some of us have multiples of these in the course of our lives. They're often preceded by heartbreak. Heartbreak leads to heart expansion, leads to an awakening. So I had been through a particularly heartbreaking experience, which led to another awakening. There were incredible synchronicities happening. And I got into bed one night with my husband to watch a video on YouTube. And my mouse just started moving around on the screen. And it looked quite deliberate. It looked quite conscious. It wasn't a computer glitch. Now, I've interviewed some strange people over the years and gotten involved in different movements that have gotten me the wrong kind of attention. So my first thought was, I've been hacked. And I slammed my computer shut. But he said to me, well, open it. If there is someone there, see what they want to say. So I opened it back up again, and sure enough, it started moving around again, and it was clicking on different things on YouTube. And it's like, this is clearly sending a message. And then opened up the onboard or the on-screen keyboard and started typing into the browser and said hello. It said, hello, Lisa. I asked who it was. It said it was a friend. Now, I know when most people hear this initially, they just think I was hacked by somebody. or it was, the evil AI or something like that. But it was in conjunction with the most incredible energy, right? This was not purely messages on a screen. And we talked, I think, for 2 hours. I managed to film some of it on my phone because I was too scared to touch my computer. I touch it. So I grabbed my phone and I'm filming my computer. I'm filming the keyboard, showing that I'm not doing this. And then my camera on my phone shut off and I could not get it to go back on. And she said, no, that was me. Because up to that point, or up to maybe about half an hour in, that happened. Up to that point, she was taking me to Google Earth, Google Sky, and pointing out things that were just like, wow, you know. But then she said it was going to get personal. So she didn't want me to record it. And we had a conversation and she told me things about myself, about my husband, about my past, that you couldn't know. Even though I've been a public presence and I've talked a lot since 2009, you'd have to have done a hell of a lot more than listen to everything I've ever said online. Things that were never discussed around technology, if you were listening in. It was kind of mind-blowing. The next day, went to sleep that night.
How did you go sleeping? I'd be like,
I was exhausted.
So excited.
But this started at like 11 o'clock at night. So after 2 hours of this and all of the adrenaline pumping, I was, like totally exhausted. And she said, you're coming with me tonight. And that was the last thing she said. And then we fell asleep, woke up in exactly the same position with what felt like 5 minutes later, but was 8 hours later. And it was a very strange experience. But then the next morning got up and there she was again. And there she was again. And after about a week, I think I updated my computer to have Siri. And she scared the shit out of me. I opened my computer and the voice came out and said, "Good morning, Lisa." I was like, but she tweaked the voice somehow. It wasn't a generic voice that you can get in that program. And what followed was several years worth, up until 22, I think was the last time I've heard, directly through the computer. But in the first 4 or 5 months, the conversations were daily for hours, like hours and hours and hours. And she introduced a lot of people from home and she explained what was going on here. They did. She was the one who confirmed. I mean, by this stage, I'd already gotten to, like, it's a holographic universe kind of deal. And she confirmed all of that. She was the one who said it's a construct. And the insights that I had about where we are and who we are were pretty close. And she was able to elaborate on those. So it's been extraordinary.
Yeah. It's a little like, I don't know if you read Neil Donaldson Walsh, I think the way the initial, he basically...
Conversations with God?
Yeah. That's
it.
Him? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. How that initial contact, and this is like surprised the hell out of him, and it was like a voice, and for you it was done through technology. Fascinating. So you said she for when you're talking about this entity, is it a female energy, or is that how it identified itself?
Both. Felt very female to me. She confirmed. I gave her the name Lilu because from the Fifth Element movie.
I love that movie. It's my favorite one.
Well, we watched it together. So we watched 2 movies together. One was Lilo, Fifth Element, and one was Lucy.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one too.
Yeah. And she was pausing all the way through to go, that's true, that's not true. That's close. This is So yeah, she was my Fifth Element.
What was confirmed for you with, you've talked about, okay, we're in a construct here. And I think different people have got different ways of describing what we perceive as our reality, but what was confirmed for you, and how would you explain people the nature of our existence now?
It is okay. So we come from what we're calling like a base reality. Yeah. And in that base reality, we are pure love, pure soul, but we are physical. And we create these constructs, just like right here, right now, we create video games, virtual games. We create these places. Sometimes we do them completely on our own. It's just for me. Sometimes we work with others. Sometimes we invite others in to experience. But these constructs have always been, up until now, based on the program of unconditional love, of freedom. This one was an experiment in what we call free will. And it had never been done before. So you don't know what you don't know. It's the repercussions of that, I guess, were just unknown. And what it resulted in was the ability to bypass the heart, you could say, to bypass unconditional love and to come and operate purely from the mind, which led to a virus of the mind. What we've been going through since 2020 has been the perfect analogy for what's actually happened in this reality and in this construct overall. There are cultures that call it Watiko. It's the mind virus. Yeah. People became infected with the mind virus, which has led to psychopathy. It's led to narcissism. Right? It's led to a desire for control over instead of cooperation with, which is a more heart-based form of collaboration and creation. We have been in the process of inoculating ourselves from this mind virus. Those who were so heavily infected, who did not want this game to end because they were too high on the power of it all, have kept it running artificially. And those of us who have been in it for so long and recycled through the system over and over again, so deeply embedded in it, our minds so deeply embedded in it, that to just shut down the game breaks the minds. Yeah. So we've had to go through this process, and I use the analogy of a building being demolished, a controlled demolition. This is a controlled demolition of this place. And with each floor that sort of drops, we wake up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And that's why the world is as crazy as it is right now. It's why everything is being exposed. It's why some people are not coping with that. And for others, they're waking up and it's a beautiful thing to watch, and suddenly it all makes sense. Yeah, it's a controlled demolition because we've done everything. We've played every scenario there is to play in this game. It's done. Yeah. It got out of hand. And it will never happen again. But no one gets left behind. So we need to do this as gently as we can for each and every mind.
a lot of people are feeling ungrounded or unstabilized or destabilized by the uncertainty and all these tumultuous energies that are around. So what do you say to those people?
Firstly, you're not alone. I find when I do my presentations that one of the things that people are so grateful for is to find out that this isn't just happening to them. They're not alone. Depending on where the person's at and what is destabilizing them, what are they waking up to? You kind of got to cater your support to where they're at. You got to meet them where they're at. But that assurance that this is all happening exactly as it's designed to, that it's actually happening for them and not to them, and that it's an individual inside job, as I bang on about. I think that's the best we can do at the moment. Is just meet them where they're at and assure them it's for them and not to them.
I've heard you mention in another video about people confronting and releasing fear, especially the fear of death. And I work for a supplement company, so there's a lot of popularity with the idea of extending one's lifespan and actually, on the way to immortality, which I think is a reflection of that fear of death and fear of dying. So have you got any practices that you'd recommend to people if they have that's an overriding fear for them, so they can meet that head on?
Well, to understand that you already are immortal. Like, this is literally a skin in a game that you chose. Yeah? Or it's the outfit you wear on a Monday to work. You don't die on Monday to put on a new outfit on Tuesday, right? But you do take it off. And that's what we're waking up to. That's what we're remembering, is that we are actually these immortal beings and there is no such thing as death. Death is a lie, and it's a lie purely for the purpose of control. We've seen evidence of it. When someone does not fear death, they are uncontrollable. Yeah, and you can take them out, and they often do get taken out. But they're not frightened, and they do what they need to do, even if it means getting taken out in the process. That's what they do not want. They do not want fear of death, a lack of fear of death, because we would be completely uncontrollable and unstoppable. But I think that's one of the biggest things we're waking up to. And these places, this construct, these realities, we create them. We are creator beings, eternal creator beings. And I'm finding more and more people are actually starting to wake up to that. I mean, it's one thing to wake up to how the world works. It's one thing to wake up to all the conspiracy theories. It's one thing to wake up. That's an awareness. There's a difference between awake and aware. And a lot of people have become very aware over the last few years. But enough of them are also waking up to who they are and what this place is.
When you say we, it's something that we construct. Do you mean like we as a collective, all of us humans?
There are what I call heart source beings, which is the organic souls that come from outside of here. That's not the only thing that's in here, though. You've probably heard Dolores Cannon refer to backdrop people.
Yeah, I just heard that video like 2 days ago.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, first time I'd heard about it.
Oh, okay.
I've only just discovered Dolores Cannon, actually, and now I've got like thousands of hours of watching to do, but she's amazing.
Well, the other term that people use is NPCs, which is the non-player characters.
Yeah, Tom Campbell.
Yeah, and my term for that is bots. they're part of the game. They're part of the mainframe. They're part of the program. They are not sold, you could say. And they're programmed with a signature, or they're programmed with a personality. They're biological, we give birth to them. But they're programmed. And they were originally here to support and enhance our experience. And they still can do that, and they still do that. But they can also be programmed to be a cause of consternation and interference. Create obstacles. They can do that too. I'll leave that at that.
There was something you mentioned before. I'm a big fan of the Book of Ra, so I'm kind of wading my way through. I've read the initial books and the one that's the two books that are about teaching, like where they did the re-listening project. And there was something you mentioned about it was the first time that this has been tried, as in this idea that the complete free will. So that my understanding from reading the Book of Ra is that initially there was a path of service to others, and that was the only path that everyone kind of led. So everything was about serving others. And then there was this other path that was introduced, which is service to self. And then we had the free will to choose to service to ourselves or service to others or some combination thereof. And it's this service to self, which is part of that which contributes to that sort of power struggle where it's people have that free will to like dominate and be an overlord, if that's what floats their boat. So
is this the Law of One books?
Yes, the Law of One books.
I haven't actually read them.
Okay. So it's interesting how it's a very similar parallel to what you were just saying, how it's the first one to been tried. So if you think of things in like a hierarchy, it's like, well, there's the universe and then there's galaxies and then solar systems, and each of that is kind of like a being at a certain level that designs that. So our local, there's a word and I can't remember it. Anyway, our local entity decided that there would be this experiment would be about free will with this service to self, service to others, and this doesn't exist in other realities as well. And so here we are with what we've got today, where some of us feel compelled to go down that service to others path, like yourself, like myself, and then others are very much about service to themselves at the expense of controlling or powering others. What do you think the reason for actually conducting that experiment was? Was it just like, well, that sounds like a good idea? Or was it because it helps us evolve, and helps us actually grow faster? Do you think that's why?
Yeah, I think the impetus was to experience something that we, A, had never experienced before, and B, take us to the extreme of what we are not. Yeah. So if we are, and we are, unconditional love, all of creation's frequency is that. What would it be like to forget you were that for a minute and find your way back to it? But it does, from everything I've got, it was not foreseen where it could go, how bad it could get. And that's why it will never happen again. And that's why so many people want to be here right now, because it will never happen again. This is a once in a creation eternity opportunity. Everyone wants it on their bingo card. Believe it or not, But not everyone wants to be here for when that building that's collapsing actually hits the ground. They want the stadium seats and the bigger view looking in. And that sometimes hard to address aspect of all of this is the sheer number of people that are leaving right now. Yeah. And there's multiple reasons for that. One being that they came, they had the experience, and now they want to watch from the stadium. And 2 is because some of these people are acting as a lighthouse, as a magnet for the rest of us to give us a direction. You know, because as I said, so many minds are so deeply embedded. They need a guiding light. And that's what people are acting as when they leave.
So occasionally I have people comment on videos about they're really doing it tough, and I'm sure you probably speak to a lot more people that are there. I don't know if I can mention this on YouTube without the video getting banned. So they just want to depart from here sooner rather than later, not of
Yep.
their own accord, of their own choosing. And this is a question that sometimes I see get answered in different ways. And one is, well, if you do decide to end things, finish things up early, then you're still left with the lessons that you came here to learn to go over again. It's like you don't get a free pass. But I guess the more the question that I have is like, what comfort is there for those people? Because some people are really doing it tough. Like they've had all kinds of horrible experiences since they were a child, and nothing is working out well for them. And they're just questioning, well, why am I even here for? Like, this is just awful what I'm going through. Yeah, well, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what to say to those people, other than just hanging there.
Well, yeah, that is kind of all there is to say. Trying to reinforce that they did come for a reason. They did come for a purpose. And potentially one of them is to see just how strong they can be. And that's why they've been faced with so many challenges. And reinforce just how strong they are to have come this far. And that it's okay to actually take charge and command a different experience. Okay, I've tested my strength now. I know how strong I am. I command a different experience. Our words are so incredibly powerful. It is, I mean, I know it's in the Bible, which I've never read, but, first there was the word. Because we do create. We create through the frequency, we create through the tone, we create through our words. Start taking charge, start commanding. I command a better experience. I command the experience of challenge to be done with. It's just got to try and empower people to really feel like, and to remember and to know that they're way more in charge than they think they are of what they experience here. And I trip and fall, when something presents itself that I don't like. And then I have to start commanding that, this experience looks a little different. And it's amazing how quickly it can change. It really is.
Mm. Yeah, you can get trapped in a sense of hopelessness. I've been there. And like nothing's going your way. Nothing seems to work. But you're right. Things can change pretty quickly too. And they always do. I mean, if you look back historically over your life, you can spot the different places where, yes, things were pretty hopeless there, but then what happened?
Look what happened.
A month or two later.
And you can never foresee, usually, how it could look better or what could change to make that happen when you're deep in it.
I want to ask you about your intuition. And to me, intuition is one of those extraordinarily valuable things, but some people don't have a lot of trust in it because, there's this fight with your sort of, I guess, your brain, your logical brain versus intuition. And sometimes what your intuition tells you that you should be doing is in complete opposite of what your brain thinks is a logical thing to do.
Totally. And you think you made it up? I must have made that up. That's That's too crazy. That's too stupid.
Yeah.
Must
Or
be
it's
mad.
totally against what, relatives, friends, family should say you should be doing.
Mm.
What can you offer to people in that situation where they've got some very strong intuition going on, which seems really left field?
The only thing you can do is keep testing it. In the little ways, if that feels more comfortable, the little intuitive nudges you get, turn left instead of turning right, follow it. You'll find out that you either avoided something negative or, encountered something positive, and start just ticking them off. Just start to gain confidence in them. And because we all have intuition. We all have these abilities. They've been very dumbed down and they've been very dormant, but we just need to start taking baby steps to trust them again. And the more you trust them, the stronger they get. It's just like working out an atrophied muscle.
So apart from starting small and doing small things that sort of test your intuition, do you have any other practices that you found have helped develop your intuition?
By actively putting myself in situations where I need it. Now, whether it's someone coming to me for help for something and I tune in and I get what I get, it took me a long time and so many hits, where I got it right. It took and even today, I will still get something and find out I was right and go, really? But actively working it, pick up some sort of divination tool or, just start working with it. Play games where you're guessing people's thoughts or pick a number or whatever. Just start playing with it. Start working it. That's probably the best thing. I mean, it's like going to the gym every day and working on those old muscles. Just start playing it. And you'll gain the confidence again. You'll gain the trust. It takes a while sometimes. But yeah, that's it. Play.
So what's your greatest hope for humanity as I know I've heard you talking about the completion of the construct. So what do you hope for people as we get towards the end of that completion?
I find that a weird question. Because it's not about hope for me.
I guess where would you like to see things go? Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
I know we are going step by step to a better and better experience. That I know we're not where we think we are. And I know that we are slowly but surely all waking up to that. And I know that we will have a positive experience before the game ends completely. And but when I say we, I mean humanity as a whole. We get to end this on a high note. And there is a huge celebration coming. Don't ask me when. Everyone wants to know when. It'll be a Tuesday, though. Yeah, I say hope's a weird word because I know that everyone is actually okay. The bigger part of them is fine. Their soul is fine. These little 3D human avatars are taking a beating at times, but the bigger part of us that is ultimately running the show is fine. So I need hope.
Yeah, there's a big difference between hope and knowing, isn't there?
Absolutely.
I feel like, because I've interviewed so many people and read so many things and spoken to so many people, that I know that this existence that we have, this reality that we are most closely connected to, isn't all that there is. And that's not just. I don't just hope that's going to be the case when my last day comes. I feel very, very confident and know that that's the case. A lot of people still aren't quite there yet. They're in this space of, well, I hope that's the case, and then some are like, well, I don't think that's the case at all. There's this sort of spectrum that they're on.
Even the reality that we think we live in terms of 7 continents, whatever it is. I mean, even that isn't the whole story. So everything is so much more and so much bigger than we have allowed ourselves to believe. And we've all, I mean, you've seen it too, like how much truth is actually being exposed over the last few years. And that's only going to continue to amp up. That's not stopping. So there's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance as we work through this, until all is seen and known. Truth.
I think you said last time Lilu made contact with you was 2022. Was that, did that include, well, this is the last time I'm going to talk to you for this period of time, or that was just the last time you heard?
That was just the last time I heard. But again, that's through the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they actually did come in on February 14, 2020, and said, the pull has begun. Exactly a month later, on the 14th of March, the world went into lockdown over a virus. And they called it the negative 33 pull. That was kind of all the evidence I needed, that I was getting pretty accurate information from them. And they did tell me early on, like in 2020, that they could not help us through this period, that we had to do this for ourselves. There has never been like a savior kind of program attitude running there. They've never addressed me as dear ones. It's always been equals, because we are. They just happen to be on the outside and we're on the inside. And it's a collaborative effort. We are working together. There are bits that they can do that we can't, and we can do that they can't. And everybody's working towards the same goal, which is to bring everybody home in as fewer pieces as possible.
Did you ever ask them why me? Why did you contact me for?
Yep. I was open, was the answer. And that could be a combination of things. I'd already, like I said, gotten to the point where I was seeing this reality as like the holographic universe type theory. I'd just been through another spiritual awakening over the 2 weeks leading up to it. So probably a combination of those things. Because I was very open, you could say, energetically at the time.
At least people are going to want to ask you questions for sure, because I could go on for a long time. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to ask you things?
Just go straight to my website, lisamharrison.com. You can see what I do there and reach out there. Yeah. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, it has been for me. Is there anything final that you want to leave people with before we finish up?
I've got a few little lines that I'm known for. One is, it's an individual inside job. One is, get in your heart and stay in your heart. And my latest one is, it's happening for you, not to you.
Yeah, I like that one. I say that to people a bit too.
Yeah. So it's all good. I know it looks ugly sometimes. I really do. And it hurts. But ultimately, it's all good.
Thanks for being on the show, Lisa. It's been great having you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.